And this is Chatcast. I am a spiritual empath, shaman, and award-winning author, and I do these chatcasts every Friday afternoon, 12 o'clock, to address hard topics, to address any topics, and to address relevant topics. But oftentimes, the topics that I most work with my clients on are topics that people find it harder to discuss. Social injustice, racism, sexual assault, abuse, boundary setting, right? Things that we oftentimes, hi, Stephen, nice to see you. Oftentimes things that we would rather just push under the carpet. And so every now and again, I like to do a show specifically to address whatever topics you guys may have right now, things that have been weighing on you. I notice that for me, every week I have a spiritual theme going on. And this week's theme there have been a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications. Also things having to do with boundaries. So whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever's going on, it's hard to see a lot of the news that's going on right now. A lot of people are out there and really suffering. They don't have electricity. They don't have heat. They're in enormous cold. That in addition to all the other things that we've been dealing with, the pandemic. And so puts people in a position to be really stressed out. So what I'm going to do until I get somebody who has a question or a topic they'd like to address, I'm going to take my book, Conquer Your Karmic Relationships, Heal Spiritual Trauma to Open Your Heart and Restore Your Soul. This book is 325 pages of a bunch of stuff. I address every topic that you've never really wanted to talk about but need to talk about is in this. In addition to every topic that you want to talk about but don't know how. That's in here too. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to just do a page opener. Interesting. So I came up to part 4, Mastery. It's that chapter. First of all, I'm going to read you a quote that I have here from Bruce Lee. And it says, "Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, and it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." And the next chapter is Fluidity is Strength. Oftentimes when we talk about people who are easygoing and they go with the flow and it appears that everything is kind of always all right with them, they don't really let you in on maybe their deeper held and experienced emotions. We always assume those people are not present or they're out of touch with the realities of what is happening, because if they're not feeling the same level of emotion we feel, it gives us an excuse to create a division between us. And so I want to talk a little bit about the idea of going with the flow and fluidity. Everyone in any situation has a position of power. The dynamic of a predator and their prey is a point of view or belief that elicits a response of dominance or submission. I'm going to read that again. The dynamic of a predator and their prey is a point of view or belief that elicits a response of dominance or submission. It's not the truth. When one fully acknowledges and embraces their circumstances at hand, it allows them to become fluid in the situation, responding and rising to the specific needs to be met in order to achieve the best outcome. So that's a pretty powerful statement. When we're in crisis, it is our ability to be present in the moment, flowing with every new detail that comes in. We can't know everything all at one time, as much as some people think they do, and as much as we'd all like to. I think that I have never suffered from being a perfectionist. And in fact, I'm very much a realist. I don't expect perfection. I expect to do the best I can with every new detail I get, and to be able to move with those details to get the best outcome. So as you get information, you begin to change your destination, change how you move and flow, and change how you make choices and the things that you do, the actions you take, the words you speak. Hi, Melanie. I'm going to get to your question in a minute. So the idea of being fluid in a situation basically acknowledges that every situation is always changing. There's always new information from one moment to the next. And if you will stay present in that situation, you will be present to the new information coming, and that will allow you or guide you to be able to see what comes next. What is the highest and best action you can take or words you can speak to allow the entire situation, yourself, people around you, to move forward. So that's some interesting food for thought. If anybody has any commentary on their relationship to fluidity, go ahead and throw it in here in the comments. So Melanie says, hi. I work with many preteen and teens. Do you have any suggestions or observations about this stage in life and their direction? Oh, good God. I mean, honestly, I actually do better with preteens and teens. I do not do well with infants and toddlers. Oh, but here's the thing. Young people in that phase of development, they're preteen, they're teen, they're prepubescent, their pituitary gland isn't necessarily fully online yet. It may be becoming online. And basically what that means for a teenager is their awareness shifts and their hormones create, it actually opens them up to a different awareness of their soul. Like on a spiritual level, it opens them up to a different level of their soul. It connects them with their sexuality and any sexual imprints that they may have. A lot of young people don't recognize their sexual orientation until they are in, just prepubescent, because they're not necessarily, they may have a relationship to their gender or a gender fluidity or a gender idea, but they're not really in relationship with their sexuality until that energy comes online and they become aware of the spiritual imprints that their soul carries about them. So God bless you. That was Mika. She's sneezing right next to me. God bless you, child. So when you're dealing with a teen, I think it's really important to have clear and concise communication as much as possible. And it's so easy. If you're a parent, it's a totally different relationship than I think if you're an educator or even a bystander like me. I mean, I counsel teens a lot, but they naturally come in seeing me as an ally rather than an authority figure. So it really depends on the foundational relationship that you have with the child. But when you're in an instructional or authoritative position, you really have to work hard to not let their flow move you from your balance. Okay? Young people, all people need to be shown the example of balance and calm rather than being told to calm down or chill out or whatever. So it's really important when you're dealing with a young person or any person, frankly, because I think that when we're upset as adults, when we get upset, we revert back to whatever training or relationship that we had to our authorities in our teen years or in our childhood. So I actually think that this is a really valuable question on so many levels, because people in times of crisis will revert back to their lowest common denominator. And a child who is reverting back to their hormonal cocktail and these new imprints that are now online, kind of showing them a little more deeply who they are, it's going to feel intense, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes shameful, depending on how their inclinations are and how they're nurtured in their outside world, how open are the people around them, or is religion a factor? There was a lot of different things that outside stimuli that we respond to. So clear, concise communication, and be the calm in the room. Those are the two things that I'm going to say about dealing with any young person. Even in the manic excitement and euphoria of a good moment, right? There is this roller coaster of energy and emotion with a preteen and a teen that you will have more benefit and a better result by being the calm in speaking clear and concise information and what idea you want to get across to them or what you want to draw out of them. So that's what I got for you, Melanie. Okay, so Stephen says, fluidity is a great subject. I'm feeling so stuck lately. Get up, eat, sleep, shower, rinse, repeat. Yes, with now, if you're changing your clothes more than once every 3 days, you're doing very well. Okay, he says, how can I break the rut I'm in when I'm feeling so stuck? Well, this is a fun one because anytime, consider that what is going on the planet right now, especially here in America, I mean, there's upheaval everywhere, but we are going through a spiritual crisis / transformation. And everybody is going through it on some level. Some people are better prepared than others, so it seems more fluid to them. And then some people have just been in this unconscious place for a long time, so that when all of this change is required of them, they get stuck and it feels like a rut. So this is the thing that I would say. One of my most favorite rituals that I've used multiple times in my life in this kind of an experience is take one thing in your home, your apartment, wherever you live, take one area and change it. So if you have like a corner, if you have a picture that's been up on the wall forever, take it down, create a clear space, and every day meditate on that clear space. If you have a printer, you can print up something new to just tack up in that place. This is not about changing your decor. It's about changing the archetypes in your energy, in your space, there's a word that I'm looking for that I'm not finding right now, but in your space, everything that is embodied around you, especially as far as artwork or the lack of artwork, any of those impressions, if you change one of them, it's going to change the nature of the fundamental area. And your relationship, your unconscious relationship, it will shift it. Just moving 1 degree in any direction changes the whole dynamic for you, and it will pull something new out of you. Consider that if you're in a rut about something, that there's something that needs to be grieved in some way. And maybe it is, if it's just as simple, and I know this is not simple, but just as simple as the pandemic and things aren't how they used to be, and it's been an entire year, well, you have to grieve that. You have to say goodbye to yesteryear. You have to say goodbye to how life was in 2019 and really accept that we are in a new place on every level. And it's not ever going to go back to how it was, because even when things kind of normalize, when we can do the same things that we, the day in and day out, we can go out, we can hang out, we can be social. Even when those things resume, we know things that we didn't know in 2019, or we see things that we didn't see then, or we see a new side to ourselves or people it's going to be hard to swallow. And so you have to really make the effort to grieve everything that you knew before and accept that this is the new way. Those two things together is going to give you, it's going to create a space for you to be able to make whatever change you might need or want to make. So there you have it. Ritual is your friend. Creating a new habit takes at least 2 weeks. I know that's actually very that is the statistic, but I'm going to say it takes at least a good, 30 to 90 days. if you're diligent, if you could do, I always recommend doing your ritual, whatever it is, at the same time every day. And that really challenges and changes how your day becomes, how your day opens up for you. Okay, wonderful. If anybody else has any thoughts or questions about that, let me know. Okay, so we're going to go to the next topic. We've got a few more minutes here. I'm going to go for just a few more minutes. If you have I have time for one more question, and I'm going to do a right here. Oh, this is a good one. Dealing with outer forces. This is also in mastery. Addressing the outer forces in your life begins with your acknowledgement and understanding of their impact on you. Answering all the questions to follow will give you an idea of your current level of empathy and trust. Until you can accept the ways in which the world impacts you, you will be powerless to change it. That's deep. That's really deep. I'm not going to go through all of the questions, but I'll choose one. If someone is speaking loudly or yelling at you, are you able to remain focused? Do you feel better about yourself or less so when in the presence of the people in your life or at your job? When someone is angry in your midst, do you become irritable yourself? Do you believe the world outside will take care of you in a pinch? Becoming aware of how you relate to the outside world and your outer forces really allows you to see more deeply where you're at. Because the ideal goal is to be compassionate and connected, or to recognize our natural connection with our outer forces, but not to be so attached to their paradigm, thoughts, or beliefs that we're moved every 5 seconds from who we are and how we are. Your ability to empathize with what someone's going through is different than agreeing with them and their ideology. So empathy, you can feel how they came to those conclusions that they live with, but that doesn't mean that you agree with them. And oftentimes there are a lot of, this period of time is I'm going to use the term breaking open many new empaths right now. To be an empath, a part of your spirit opens up to you in such a profound way that you are naturally connecting with people to have it mirrored to you. That's what empathy is. Every time we empathize with someone, we connect with them. We see a new part of ourselves because we're able to see it in them first, right? The fact that we are present to it in them means that we have it and we are present to it on some level in ourselves. And anytime there is this type of cultural trauma, people open up, they grieve, they break apart their old ideals, and they're required to. They've got to make changes in their thinking in order to get along in the world, in the way that the world has changed. So we have a lot of people who weren't necessarily particularly empathic, but now after challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge, they kind of got burst open, and now they're feeling everything. And it's easy to be mad about it, frankly. When you first open up to extreme empathy, it's hard and you feel victimized with it. But your ability to recognize that it is a tool here for you to use, and not lose sight of your own ideals. When we empathize with other people, there is a process. Let's say you are a person who has always judged someone by the color of their skin. And now you've now opened up because all of this trauma is happening to all of us. And now you're beginning to empathize with someone who is not like you. And when you empathize with them, you feel the pain that your thoughts and ideas or belief system has on them. Right? So now there's this new connection and this new understanding. It's completely appropriate through the deeper thought provocation and experience to decide to change what your ideal is, what your belief is. Every time new information comes in, we've got to adapt to that new information. Sometimes we are taught something, we're told it's the truth, and it is not the truth, and eventually we find that out. And when that day comes, we must be ready, willing, and able to adapt. So I'm not talking about that. When I talk about when you empathize with somebody, it's not taking on their beliefs as your own without thinking about it, without processing it, without moving through how you got to be the way you were, how you ended up in this position, and why you want to change the position and the position you want to move into, right? So any kind of change has to come from an organic transformation of your own knowledge base, your own wisdom, and then ultimately the universal truth. So let's see. Stephen says, I've always depended on the kindness of strangers. Yes, I have too. It's interesting. In New York, I definitely was able to survive based on the kindness of strangers. And when I came to LA, I survived by the few relationships that I had when I came here. I had a couple of friends that really kept me going for the first 5 years. It was a long time to have to keep going, but no matter your culture, just I can state because of that, no matter the condition you're in, or no matter the condition it appears your life is in, it will always change. No matter how you slice it, and it will always change for the better if you can keep your mind and your heart centered on that belief for yourself, knowing that things can be better than they are today. So I'm going to leave you with that today. It's always a pleasure to be able to pull out topics and talk about them and get your feedback and your own experiences. So thank you so much for joining me today. This has been Tracee Dunblazier with Chatcast, and have a magnificent weekend.